right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Superstitions and Traditions.
Here we are.
Our podcast that sheds light on the everyday things we do in love.
Yes.
And the historical people and decisions we question.
Yes. She's Kristen.
I'm Kristen.
I'm Carol.
She is.
I am.
And today we are doing Point of View Historical Edition.
My new favorite.
I know.
Let's
I
hear
love
it.
this one.
It's fun.
So we're going to need your help deciding if this is a life we should move to,
Probably not.
give up our current lives, and
I don't even know what we're talking about, but I'm gonna say probably not.
probably not.
Because
Okay.
you find the obscure and bizarre, and I bet that's what have you got today? Oh. Okay. Let's hear it.
All right. So listen to our episode, like and comment at the end. If you're on YouTube or Spotify, you can leave us a comment.
Right?
And subscribe so you can be a part of all of our future discussions of the historical shenanigans.
Come on down.
The good and the nonsense.
And yes, and the downright upsetting sometimes.
And the downright upsetting sometimes. All right.
Usually Victorian England is upsetting.
Yes. We're not in
Yes.
Victorian England
Marvelous.
this time.
Great. Where are we?
We are in 1666 England.
It's a lot of sixes.
It is. Stepping back in time just a wee bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a tiny
several
hair.
hundred years.
Yes.
Yes.
To Eyam during the plague.
To what?
Eyam, England, in Derbyshire.
AM? Like morning?
Well, that's how it's pronounced.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. AM England.
Yes. So, we're going to jump in.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready. Let's jump.
All right.
Here we go.
There we go. Our little township was a pastoral, perfect place.
Okay.
Our community was close-knit, compassionate people. We took care of each other. In August of 1666, when our local tailor received his shipment of fabric, we were suddenly hit with a call to take care of not only our own community, but also the neighboring communities.
Okay.
The fabric was housing fleas.
Ooh.
Inconvenient, but when the apprentice who opened the package developed the telltale buboes of the plague, we knew there was no hope for us. Our two ministers called upon us with a plan to save Derbyshire. They suggested a community quarantine to halt the spread past Eyam. We agreed. A wall was constructed around our town. Arrangements were made with neighboring communities to drop supplies at our south entrance. We placed a trough of vinegar to leave payments in.
Oh.
A year and a half we lived solely within the walls of our township. The plague did as well. No one outside our community contracted it. Many of us did, but many of us survived it also.
Wonder how.
So we're going to talk all about that.
Okay. All right. I need to know.
Yes. So we know there are three different types of the bubonic, or of the Black Death, the plague.
Mm-hmm.
Bubonic is the one with the boils and the ickiness.
Yeah.
Which is what this town got with their flea-infested fabric shipment.
Uh-oh.
So they get the shipment in August. A couple of months after the shipment, several people in the town have it, and the ministers. Well, they knew what it was with the apprentice.
Okay.
And they, do what you do when people are sick. They tried to contain it, and obviously that didn't work. And several people, by the time you develop the symptoms, you have carried it for 3 to 7 days.
Oh, God. Okay.
So by the time they knew what he had
infected.
he had shared
other people.
Yeah.
I got you.
And the bubonic plague was terrible, painful,
Of
and
course.
a lot of people didn't survive it.
No.
So they constructed a wall around their city. They made arrangements with neighboring towns to drop supplies off. They, at this time, knew that vinegar had disinfecting properties.
Mm-hmm.
So they put a trough of vinegar to leave the coins for payment. and it worked
Okay.
to disinfect the coins.
How did they come about vinegar back then?
Vinegar existed way back in biblical times.
Sure, I just
they
don't
gave
understand
Jesus.
it.
I have no idea. That would
Okay.
be maybe something we look into.
Hey,
Um,
vinegar. How did it come about?
how did it come about?
Well, I find vinegar interesting because it's natural, but how is it? Do you squeeze the vinegar plant? I don't know.
I have no idea.
See, I thought you would know everything about it.
I know nothing. I know that it is a
Plant
good disinfectant.
lady. It is.
It's a fantastic cleaner.
Yes.
But where it comes from, I have no idea.
We're going to have to look into that.
I
'cause
will.
I need to know.
Yeah.
I
It's not ever something
It's like they say baking soda. Natural.
Right.
Where do you get it?
Huh.
I need to know things.
It's just something that has existed forever.
It has
and
existed.
Has never been questioned.
I'm questioning it.
Yeah. I know all about herbs because
They
I
grow.
researched them because they are questioned. They, they were kind of wiped out and medicine replaced them. And so the knowledge of herbs isn't common anymore.
No.
You've just always known baking soda, vinegar. So I've never
Where in
needed.
nature do we get baking soda?
I don't know, but I will figure that out.
Please let me know.
I will.
It's something I've kind of always wondered about. I suppose I could have looked it up on my own, but I'm too lazy.
I understand.
Okay.
And I'm not. I like it. So I will find that out for you.
Okay, so they had vinegar and they put their
So
coins
they had
in
vinegar.
it to
They left their
disinfect.
coins in vinegar to disinfect it. They quarantined for a year and a half.
Mercy.
So the neighboring communities were bringing supplies, food, and whatever,
Right.
leaving it outside the wall of the town, gathering their little coins, and doing this for a year and a half. The members of the community did not walk outside those walls for a year and a half. The neighbors are coming in to drop off their packages and things, and one day after this had been a year and a half long, decide to see if there's even anybody left in the community, because the
You expect
bubonic
everybody to
plague
be
wiped
dead.
everybody out.
You expect everybody to be dead.
Yes, the first one was in like 500 BC or 80 or something. It was long before.
Right.
But the Great Plague in the 1300s wiped out 50 million people, half the population on Earth.
Wow.
So they expected
Big deal.
Yeah, they expected this community. 300 years later, it's still around today, even.
Do we know why they didn't die?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes, we do. So the other township comes in to drop off packages, and they're like, it's been a while, let's just see. So they go through the town, and there are still people. There are some who lost entire families, and they're fine.
Yeah.
One woman in particular, within a week, buried her husband and 6 children. That was one of the things they did to keep the spread. They didn't bury in the graveyard.
Her husband and 6 children. Just throw me on
survived.
top. Just throw me on top. I'm going to.
You buried your own dead.
Mm-hmm.
And you buried them close to your house so that they weren't going through the town. And 6 kids and her husband.
Poor lady.
There were several people who contracted it and survived it. And so they come in, they see that there are people still alive. There is nobody with it at this point. Everybody has either died or recovered. And they saved all of Derbyshire from
Extinction.
getting this. Yeah.
Mercy.
Yeah. So now it is actually like a historical stop.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they have signs or plaques outside of the homes of, this person, these people passed. The apprentice's house, who was the first one to contract it, like here's where it started.
Oh my.
And people go there
I'll bet.
by the droves to see it.
I mean, it's so unfortunate, but all these years later, it's interesting.
It is.
I mean, I hate to say that someone's dying and suffering is interesting, but it was a long time ago, and here we are now.
The people from this community that survived the plague, it was questioned for hundreds of years. Like, how did they survive it? In the 80s, with the AIDS epidemic, there were people who were exposed to AIDS that never contracted HIV or AIDS, and we want to know why. So the big thing with the AIDS epidemic was figuring out what to do with it. They were testing people who had AIDS.
Right.
There was a man in England who said, the people I associate with, the people I love, everybody around me has contracted this disease and I haven't. Do you study me? Figure out why I haven't. See if there's something that can be helpful.
Right.
So it turns out he is descendant of this township.
Nuh-uh. Really?
Yes. So he came from here. So they're testing him and looking into him. They find out that there is a gene mutation associated with the people of this township that made them, if you have one of the mutations, you can contract bubonic plague or AIDS and even COVID later on. But your symptoms will be mild and you'll be fine. You'll go on about life. If you have two, you won't get it at all.
Oh my gosh. That's interesting as hell. Genetics is bizarre.
So it all came from this town that survived the plague and stopped the plague. Members of it had this gene mutation.
Is there anything they can do with that?
They're working on that right now. It's called Delta 32.
Delta 32. Interesting.
And it's a new discovery. They just discovered it in the 80s and then brought it, more with COVID. So they're actively trying to figure out how to duplicate it or whatever they do with science and mutations and things like that. But on top of that, had these people carrying it left, they would have still spread it. But they saved all of this area of England. It was London. There were parts of London, especially the more clustered parts of London, were hit with it at this time. But it hadn't reached that area yet. And it did with the shipment of fabric, with the fleas inside of the shipment of fabric. So the town lost, I want to say, like a third of their population. But a lot of people survived it. One woman in particular credited, because, there's no science in this time. She drank old milk while she was sick with bubonic plague and eventually survived. And so for a minute, they thought maybe old milk was a cure.
Old milk, not spoiled milk? Or
well, probably spoiled milk, but milk that had sought out for. The spoiled milk today is vastly different from the spoiled milk of 1600.
Sure. When
there's no pasteurization and you got milk every day because it doesn't sit out and no refrigeration and
gotcha.
But so that is the story of this cute little town that saved England.
Yes, because they kept it all contained. Interesting.
And at some point in the future, I'm sure, we'll save all of us from
something.
The next pandemic.
Right. Did they have to force people to stay, or did everybody agree to stay?
Everybody agreed.
They didn't have to guard the wall and.
No, it was the two ministers in town, and they just kind of called their congregations together
to
and said,
everybody
this
and-
is what is going on. It hasn't reached our neighbors yet, and here's what we propose. And everybody was like, all right, let's do it.
Very unselfish.
It was a different time.
It was. It was.
So, I mean, community was a big deal, and helping people you depended on.
Well, your community was probably, you're related to everybody in some aspect.
Right. I mean, you can't travel far.
And your cousins from,
So,
cousins and nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters, and, you know, everybody is just filled out the town.
yeah. The town and the neighboring towns.
Right.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, kept it contained.
Kept it contained.
And they are now known as the town that saved England from the plague.
How about it?
I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I've watched so much
I'll bet you have.
videos and read so many articles about this town and the people, and there are records of those that had it, and you know, stories, and then of course generational passed down stories from
Individuals. Interesting.
that, you know, maybe aren't exactly what happened, but it is what families have told for generations, and
Sure.
somebody finally wrote it down so that. But it was just interesting, and it all started from a package of fabric,
Flea infested.
flea-infested fabric,
How did the fleas become infested?
biting other. That was fleas are how the bubonic plague was spread.
I thought it was rats, but it's fleas.
It's
that
the
infected
fleas
rats.
that bit the rats that bit the people.
I guess I never thought about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Rats is like ground zero. But it was the fleas on the rats that were biting the people that were spreading the plague. Head lice and, I mean, any kind of parasitic bug.
Anything that's going to bite you.
Yeah.
It's going to spread it
Mm-hmm.
and infect you.
Yep.
It's not like you can really see the fleas to be like, stay away from me.
Right. I mean, I guess when you open a package and it's full of them, you do.
Well, I mean, maybe he didn't notice them. Maybe he had bad eyesight.
Maybe.
Maybe his dog chewed up his glasses.
Perhaps.
He might have. Oh, that's me.
That's you.
That's me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, saved the world. One little town, selflessly. Just lock us up. Lock us in here.
And the people that didn't die.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. And the ones that were sick with it and then,
And recovered.
Yeah.
Which was rare. I mean, there was no
cure.
medicine. I mean, at this particular time, they believed that bad air is what caused all illnesses.
Oh, okay.
So they had kind of figured out already that it was the bite from the flea, but they still believed that it could spread through the air. So the posies, they carried around flowers to sniff, to breathe in good air, to keep them from breathing in the bad air. That's why we pocket full of posies. That's why the plague doctors had those
the long
beaks or whatever. They were stuffed full of herbs and flowers to breathe good
keep
air.
you from. Interesting. I didn't know that's why they were long. I had no idea.
Yeah, they were stuffed full of stuff to smell good.
That's what Janine was for Halloween, and people thought she was a parrot.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, she had a really cool costume, my daughter-in-law. Yes.
Thought she was a
And
parrot.
I thought she came in, and I'm like, they thought you were a parent? She's like, no, a parrot.
A bird.
Parrot, bird,
I mean,
squawk,
it looks
squawk.
like a beak.
Yep.
And
It
then
does.
that's why, because they were stuffing the beak full of herbs for the doctor to breathe in. So they
Gotcha.
didn't breathe in the bad air.
Had no idea. I mean, I don't know that would work if it was really the bad air, because you're going to
It
breathe
wasn't
it
an
at
airborne.
some point.
Yeah.
Right. But
I mean, there was no medicine. There was no science.
how many herbs do you got to snort before you're sure it doesn't get you?
Pocket full of posies.
I suppose they probably, you get a buzz off of that. Snort enough stuff up your nose.
It's also when tobacco smoking
Mm.
kind of took off. Big
Snuff, probably.
was to breathe in that smoke because it's better for you.
Yes.
Than the bad air that's going to give you the plague and influenza and Spanish flu and all those other bad things out there lurking.
Right around the corner. It doesn't have to be around the corner. It's just a gust of wind and you're dead meat.
Yep.
Interesting.
So, anyway, that is our little town.
Awesome.
Our little town that saved the world.
And is still working on it, it sounds like.
And is still working on it.
Delta 32.
Mm-hmm. Descendants are still saving the world.
Thank you.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting little thing, but that is what I got for you today.
Love it.
Uh-huh.
Love it.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Let us know what you think. Maybe we give up our current lives and move back to 1666 England and live in the plague town.
No.
You don't think we should?
No. I mean, no, I don't think you should go. I'm definitely not going to go.
Okay.
I think you should stay here.
I think it sounds wonderful, the camaraderie and the compassion and the take care of everybody, and
sure, that would be great, but the sick part, that doesn't sound great.
And I don't know my ancestry as
I don't
far
think
as
you've
that
got the mutation,
so I don't know if
I would stay away.
And I have an autoimmune, so
yeah, you got a problem there.
I mean, mine would get the plague and be like, woo, we got partner, we can take out the kidneys hard now.
We're gonna do it. You better stand back. You and your chemo aren't going to get us.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So join us for our next episode on 2 days from now. It is Chatelaines.
What?
Product Review Historical Edition. And we are going to talk about Chatelaines.
Marvelous.
Yes.
Can't wait.
I can't wait to tell you after your purse story. So I am going to solve all of your problems with this product. You're going to solve all of
my problems?
Yes.
With my little backpack purse?
Yes.
The BOK wouldn't let me in?
Exactly.
Because it's a purse?
And if you had had a Chatelaine, it wouldn't have been an issue.
I can't wait to hear that. Yeah, I had to walk back 3 blocks after seeing Trans-Siberian Orchestra the other day. They wouldn't let me in because my tiny little baby purse was a backpack.
They do not allow backpacks.
I offered to dump the damn thing out, but...
They do not allow backpacks.
They don't.
But if you had a Chatelaine, you wouldn't have needed a backpack.
Fantastic.
I know
I can't wait to hear about this.
Yes.
That would have saved me blocks.
It would have.
Of running.
Yep.
I don't run.
Me either.
I didn't want to miss the show, so we ran to the car, threw it in, ran back, got to our seats just in the nick of time.
Perfect.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra. We'll have to go together next year. I know you don't want to see the people that are there, but you will enjoy the show.
I'm going to be so sick on that day. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. My lupus is going to flare up on that day. I got to stay in bed.
You're going to go. We're going to have fun.
Shoot, darn.
No. We saw Night Ranger. We saw Night Ranger. You had a good time.
I got in trouble from security.
Well, I mean, kind of.
All right, so you guys subscribe so you don't miss our story.
Thanks for listening to me bitch about having to take my purse back on Friday.
Tell your friends and
that I had to take my purse because
that's what you want to tell your friends.
I'm a little bitter about it.
I know. All right, join us. You didn't miss it.
I didn't miss it.
You made it back in time.
Whew, we had to hoof it. All right.
See, I wouldn't have made it back in time because I am that person that shows up 2 minutes before it starts.
That's why I show up 30, 40 minutes before it starts, because I know something's going to happen. You know what I'm saying.
I don't know. Maybe I look for something to happen so I can get out of having to do.
So you don't have to go.
Yeah.
You went to Night Ranger?
And I acted up.
Well, you had a good time, though.
There was a crazy... You have a very different memory of it than I do.
You wanted to go to a concert. You'd never been to a concert, so we went to a concert.
I needed to mark it off my bucket list.
It's off your bucket list now.
It is, and I never have to go to another one again.
Well, this is a different kind of concert. It's a Christmas concert.
That's not on my bucket list.
It should be. Maybe you'll act up and then you'll get to spend a night in county.
That is on my bucket list.
Do you want Tulsa? Tulsa jail, though?
I mean, David O. Moss sounds lovely.
I don't know. Anyway.
All right. Subscribe. Tell your friends. Come back and see us. And Carol loves you.
I do.
And I have a fondness.
She does.